And Eric Dinallo, thank you very much for joining us
tonight. Good to be here. Thank you.
So you've actually had a very good week and a half. First you got an endorsement from Cranes, which is a business publication in New York City. Then you got the Daily News endorsement. And then you got a very nice, I might actually be doing this backwards, then you got a nice boost from the Times, sort of an attaboy runner-up. And then you got the Daily News.
Yeah, I'm very proud of those outcomes. I think they reflect the kind of campaign I've been seeking to run, which is one about substance, about who is the best candidate to take over the Attorney General's office, who has the proven track record on the issues that the voters should care about in that office.
Yeah, it's interesting because you know, what the Times said about you was there are other worthy candidates, most notably Eric Dinallo. And they said, they noted that you had been in Eliot Spitzer's AG office, which is probably the most celebrated period of his public service, not his governorship, which we'll, of course, not leave to the side. And, you know, talked about your role in the bitter debate over the World Trade Center site redevelopment, and then said, has yet to demonstrate the muscular public advocacy that we've seen from Senator Eric Schneiderman, who they eventually endorsed. What do you think that means?
I don't understand it. I didn't understand it when I read it. I guess maybe they think that the Attorney General's office is some public advocate position, which reduces to just sort of talking and importuning and wanting to just, you know, complain without any action. The Attorney General's office is a bully pulpit. That's important. But the core undertaking of that office is bringing the cases, achieving, instead of just talking about the reforms that the office can cause to come about, and my record has been about that. So the record that they talk about and the other editorial support is a record of being in state government and coming out with large, important solutions, whether it's transforming the Attorney General's office into the Sheriff of Wall Street, whether it's taking the insurance department and expanding health insurance across the state, settling the World Trade Center. That's what they should be concerned about. So I appreciate the Times for its shout-out, so to speak, and its second place finish, but I did not understand that because I think I have been a very successful public advocate.
You know, it's interesting because Eric Schneiderman has been very outspoken about some social justice issues. He's been talking a lot about Rockefeller drug law reform, which isn't actually really a role in the AG's office. Although the AG's office does a lot of drug cases. In fact, that's pretty much a large bulk of what they do, but people don't talk about that frequently. What direction would you take the office in? We saw the Sheriff of Wall Street was Eliot Spitzer. We saw a big student loan industry investigation by Andrew Cuomo. Then some Wall Street stuff from Andrew Cuomo, some public corruption. Yes. Where would you take it to redefine the office?
So I think there's two major issues. One is public integrity and public corruption. I think the office can be transformed into the best and most important enforcer in that area and help put some faith back among the citizens of the state in their state officials. And the second is taking that sort of national platform. I mean, the office is big and powerful, and it's stepped into a lot of Washington's responsibilities, and now bringing that and turning it more into the state. So impacting New Yorkers in their everyday lives a bit more, whether it's consumer issues, investor issues, leveling the playing field in the checks they write on their kitchen table is really, I think, the important future for the office.
Where's one area, and not to say that I'm asking you specifically to criticize Andrew Cuomo, but one area that you think has been overlooked in the office, having spent so much time there yourself?
Well, I've talked about expanding the civil rights agenda more. I want to see more robust cases across this whole state. I think there's bad housing discrimination going out there. I think there is achievement for equality of marriage through litigation, and I think we can do more. Part of it is putting an assistant attorney general in every county. So I want the office to be very accessible to citizens across the whole state.
Wait, achieving marriage equality through litigation. Do you believe that the AG's office could bring cases that actually made marriage legal?
I do, and I've done an op-ed on this, and the plan simply stated is when I was the insurance superintendent for the state, I ordered the insurance companies to cover same-sex couples as if they were a married couple if they went out of the state and came back with a certificate. And my argument is that that's now created an equal protection argument. You have some couples who have that certificate in hand that are same-sex and can get coverage, whether it's health insurance or property insurance or life insurance, as if they're a married couple, and some who cannot. That, to me, is a perfect equal protection claim to bring both in federal and state court, and I will do it.
And you will do it. So that's a very activist thing to do, actually.
Yep, and I wrote about it, and I've laid it out there, and I believe strongly in it.
Now, you've also been a little bit critical of some of your fellow opponents. There are 5 of you in this race.
Yes. Yes.
You are the 5th, or rather the 2nd or the 3rd, depending on how we're counting. So one of the people that you've been critical of is Eric Schneiderman. You don't think that he actually is going to be able to adequately be a fighter of public corruption because he was a member of the Senate. Is Assemblyman Brodsky the same for
you? In a lesser extent, because Eric Schneiderman is the leader in the Senate. I think he's the 4th highest person in the Senate. I want to be clear, though, I'm not critical of him. This is a simple observation under the law that you can't come out of an institution, having been a leader in that institution, and go back and investigate that same institution.
Well, why not?
Because there's laws around fiduciary duty and having obligations of confidentiality and fidelity to those institutions. And I think there are serious conflicts of interest issues and recusal issues that he will face when he's at the Attorney General's office if he seeks to go back and start to investigate the leadership decisions that he was part of. It's a serious issue. I'm not taking a shot at him because I said that as the insurance superintendent, having been that, I don't think I can go back and investigate the insurance department and whether it has any issue.
Does it need investigating,
no,
the insurance department?
To the best of my knowledge, no. But if something ever came up and someone questioned my leadership of that agency, I don't think I could go back and investigate my leadership of that agency. And DA Rice, when it comes to the Nassau County DA's office, this is a transcendental argument that I think redounds worse to Eric Schneiderman because the biggest issue of our time right now is public corruption and public integrity cases, especially out of the Senate. So I want to clear, I wasn't like taking a shot at him personally. I made an observation about everyone out there talking about public integrity. Each of us come from somewhere, and I believe strongly under New York state law and general common law of recusals and conflicts of interest that the prosecutors have to abide by all the time, he's going to have some serious limitations.
Okay, but he says, well, I've already demonstrated my ability to go after some of my own colleagues because I chaired the committee that helped expel, that really led for the expulsion of Hiram Monserrat. Is that not an argument that washes for you?
No, that isn't the test at all. Sure, within the Senate, he's done that committee, but now coming back and re-examining the Senate and re-examining the leadership decisions and the pass-throughs and the member items and all that stuff, I simply think he's going to have a serious legal limitation, and he's going to have to see himself recused and conflicted out of a lot of them. Espada being a great example, right? We've all been very careful not to comment on Espada because we might inherit that investigation. I don't think he can inherit that investigation.
Well, because why? I mean, no formal vote was cast to make Espada majority leader when he returned from the coup.
But he's intimately involved in those leadership decisions, in what committee Espada has that's causing, the pass-throughs, et cetera. I think these are serious issues that have to be vetted.
Now, in terms of public corruption also, you are saying that a change could be made this very instant,
yes.
Right now,
yes.
this moment.
Yes, the governor, yes, go
yeah,
ahead.
that the governor could, no, go ahead.
The governor, I believe, has the power to issue an executive order that would immediately give the Attorney General's office primary criminal jurisdiction over public integrity cases, which I concede it does not have. I think there's lots of things we can do to fight public integrity out of the AG's office, but it does not have overarching criminal jurisdiction over public integrity cases. And I sent a letter to the governor saying, you with the stroke of the pen can fix this under the current executive law, which is the way the Attorney General's office got jurisdiction over Medicaid fraud cases. So the Medicaid fraud cases that we do was originally done off of such an executive order.
And you have heard back from him or not heard back from him?
My understanding of the public, which is the same as the private statement, was they're seriously considering it.
And Andrew Cuomo, however, you've not had discussion with him because he's the AG right now. I mean,
yes.
He would be impacted by that.
We communicated. We made sure that they understood I was sending the letter because it wasn't like a grandstanding thing. I didn't do a big press statement off of it. But I believe that whoever wins the Attorney General's office and whatever people think about the politics of it, this is a serious substantive opportunity. The way I saw opportunity in the Martin Act and the insurance law, this can be done. And it would be powerful. It would be something that David Patterson could do on the way out. And I think it would advance the cause of public integrity and public corruption oversight in this state tremendously.
Who's the first person you'd look into if, in fact, you were elected?
No, I'm not going to comment on that. What I would look into, which I've said publicly, is our problem is that because our legislature is part-time, they have all these outside business interests. They're permitted to have them, and they lead to hopeless and ongoing conflicts of interest. The very same kind of cases I did when I was at the Attorney General's office concerning conflicts of interest is what's going on through the legislature. And it's awful, and it should be stopped, and whether they want to change the rule or whatever. But if you do enough of those cases and you give the AG's office the right jurisdiction, I think you can achieve long-term reform.
So full transparency in terms of reporting of your outside interest is not sufficient for you? You want a ban on moonlighting?
I think there should be, right, basically, yes. I think it should be people should be fully committed to their public service responsibility.
And would you then give them a salary increase?
I don't know that they need. Look, I think there's plenty of people in the state who would sign up for the job at the current salary.
It's only $79,500.
Well, in fact, half of them don't even have an outside interest. Is my understanding. So I don't want to get into this. I'm not going to accept a headline that says Eric says pay the legislature more. You're not going to get me to say that.
Darn.
But I think because the core point is not that. The core point is these outside business interests, and they are the ones that lead to the conflicts of interest and the headline of the Senator of the Week and the federal investigations. It's all about that.
Okay, it's clear that you've got some traction here, and it's probably, in terms of timing, good for you because people are just now starting to engage.
Yeah.
How are you going to capitalize on it? I mean, are you going to be able to? No, you're not on the air. You got 3 people on the air so far. You've got Rice Schneiderman Coffee. He's largely self-funding. She's got $4.4 million on hand. Eric Schneiderman put some of his own money in, a couple $100,000. You have not put your own money into the race.
Some, but by those estimations, extremely modest. I'll pay for some costs. Yes.
Okay, so how much exactly do you know?
$10,000.
Okay, well that's by comparison not a lot. When are you going to get up on the air, and how are you going to make this move? And do you still believe you can?
Oh, I think absolutely. I'm going to continue to do what I've been doing, which is talking to people about issues, about what they want and see from the Attorney General's office. As I've campaigned across the whole state, the one thing they don't ask about is how much we have, how much we've raised. They ask about what can you do from the office? What can you do about public integrity, consumer fraud, investor protection? Having said that, I think we've raised adequately to run the campaign that we want to run. This is going to come down to the end. Obviously, I think that the media issues are best saved to the end. I think it's a wide open race. The polls show that. The people's recognition of the candidates is at an extraordinarily low percentage. So I think staying with the issues, getting the kind of editorial support that we've gotten, advertising that out, is going to be the way to win this office.
Well, we will be, of course, keeping tabs on this primary, but I want to thank you very much for coming in. It's always good to speak to you.
It's been fun. Thanks a lot.
Clear. Nice job.